Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll close the nominations. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, what was it? All right. Eligibility to vote. Any person who is an elector of such town and any citizen of the United States of the age of 18 years or more who jointly or severally who is liable to the town for taxes assessed against him or her on an assessment of not less than $1,000 on the last completed grand list of such town. Reference Connecticut General Statute, Section 7-6. Clerk will read the notice.
A
Please.
special meeting of the electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Berlin will be held at the Berlin Town Hall, Council Chambers, 240 Kensington Road, Berlin, Connecticut, on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 at 6:45 PM for the following purposes: to approve a non-budgeted appropriation of $288,000 from the outside police services account to the extra duty police officer account, both in the general fund.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So is there a resolution to come before the town meeting? That's the, to approve the, yeah, there you go. To approve the,
To approve the non-budget appropriation of $288,000 from the outside police services account, extra duty police officer account, both in the general fund.
all right, second on that? All right. So now we have discussion on the resolution. Any discussion? From the audience? From the council? No discussion. Okay, so we can vote on the resolution. So the resolution is just read. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved. And the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you. And we'll have a few minutes before our town council meeting. Uh-oh.
The sound is coming through the laptop, coming through the speaker.
Okay, we're good. Okay. So go ahead and call our town council meeting to order. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Zeno,
Here.
Mayor Kaczynski,
Here.
Counselor Luddy,
He's up there. He was going to join us from vacation land. Maybe he's found better things to do in vacation. He may join us in a little while. Yeah, I know he's just getting to his destination.
Counselor Paynessa,
Here.
Counselor Rosso,
Here.
Counselor Uranaga,
Here.
Counselor Beach. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to read a proclamation, if I could. A proclamation, Town of Berlin recognizes that June is celebrated nationwide as LGBTQ Pride Month and that our great nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all. As a community, Berlin is inclusive and strives for diversity. We welcome all people and believe everyone should be able to live without fear of prejudice, discrimination, violence, or hatred based on gender identity or sexual orientation. The Town of Berlin does hereby proclaim June 2022 as Pride Month to honor and celebrate our LGBTQ citizens. Let us as a community continue to build a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance for all. Resolved, Mark H. Kaczynski, Mayor of Town of Berlin, officially recognized June 22nd as LGBTQ Pride Month. So thank you. Okay, we are now at our audience of citizens. So if anyone wishes to address the council on any issue, issues on the agenda tonight, or any other thing that's on your mind, either here in the audience or on our Zoom audience. Okay, is he number one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So we'll, let's do the in-person, let's do who's here in person first, and yes, sir. First, yes, please. Yeah, just your name and address for the record. Sorry to make you have to come up, but.
Good evening. My name is Keith Bostrom at 2053 Chamberlain Highway. I have a tree farm there. A couple of issues have come up on Chamberlain Highway the last couple of months in the south end, south of the firehouse. One of them being is the old Pierre Bennerup Sunny Border Nursery property. Seems to be turned into a trucking operation. Last week, I took a look at, and I can see it from my my property. It was 13 or 14 tractor trailers parked there. Some of the neighbors that are a little bit closer have concerns because they're not only are they moving equipment in and out of there, they're also using it to repair the equipment, and possibly they even maybe have an office trailer there. I believe this property is zoned planned office development. So I'm not quite sure if I'm not quite sure if that falls under the zoning of POD. I believe also that there is a supposed to be an access there to the trail that's open to the public for parking. And I don't think that's happening because there's a gate that's put up there. I believe that was part of the arrangements when Pierre put the greenhouses up. So that's one issue that's going on down there. And these have all happened the last couple of months. The other issue is the pile of millings that's across the street from me. Basically, they took Chamberlain Highway and milled it from Brierley Johnson's down to Butler Street and dumped the majority of those millings there. I called the state of Connecticut concerning that, and because they're millings, it's considered a hazardous waste. Not that far from the brook. And I did some quick estimating. And if a triaxle dump truck holds about 20 yards of material, and if you were to put 3 dump trucks an hour, the dump there, that's approximately 60 yards. If you multiply that by an 8-hour day, that's 480 yards. 5 days equals 2,400 cubic yards of material that's dumped there. And those are very, very conservative estimates that I came up with. Now, to put it in another perspective, if you were to take 2,000 yards, put it 3 inches, spread it 3 inches thick, you'd cover 5 acres. That's basically the size of my tree farm. So it gives you a pretty good perspective as how much material is dumped there. And those are 2 concerns that I have, and I don't know, I would like to see the town address that. And then I also put a complaint in with the town about 3 weeks ago, and I haven't received any information concerning it. Like I said, the DEP has been notified and it was put on their high agenda issues, but unfortunately, with all the retirements, they have a backlog of inspectors. So it wouldn't take place very quickly. So those are my 2 concerns on Chamberlain Highway.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Next up. Sorry, I'm sorry.
My name is, following that, I'm surprised somebody else had something to say. My name is Roger Naldi. I live at 1984 Chamberlain Highway, 2 houses south of the firehouse.
Okay.
Obviously, watching this milling operation, myself and the other 4 neighbors who abut the Stockings Brook that is there, was watching all those millings go up to that farm as well. A couple of us wanted to buy a load or 2 for our driveways. Nope, all the millings are going there. So all the questions started, like, is this safe for our wells, our septic? People called the Connecticut Health District, talked with Barbara Gelati. She's on vacation, hasn't really gotten back to us yet to see if everything's safe. The kids are out there catching frogs. That brook is feeding our gardens. And it also runs into Penny Brook, which goes into Kenmere Reservoir, which feeds Meriden Watershed. I don't know what the carbon footprint of 2,000 to 3,000 cubic yards of material is. I know there's acceptable amounts that are used in building road beds, construction, recycling. To plop that right in the middle of wetlands, we've all done our research as well, and the neighbor called the DEP, basically got the same thing that Mr. Bostrom said. And nobody's really given a straight answer so far. So those are some concerns. And then also there was a sign there by those millings that said for agricultural use only. So I wanted to buy a load to put in my driveway and it said, well, not for sale. So if he's gonna spread those out and compact those, whatever number he just said, 5 acres. Chamberlain Highway, they've milled 5 miles of it, 2 inches deep, it's 30 feet wide. He could put in 8 miles of a road on those 60 acres of fields. Also makes me nervous, that's impermeable material. When it rains, what is that runoff? That's gonna flood our backyards potentially when all that rain comes. Potentially, I don't know what a water study that floods back there and it goes into the leach fields. So it's a health and safety questions that we have. I also talked with the town briefly and would like just somebody to look into that. Those concerns with 4 neighbors, we have all their names, everybody's called the DEP and a couple of us have called the town and that's where it goes. So basically we want that. The main thing is not to get in our wells and basically make, if you go to sell your house in 5 years, that it'd be worthless. I don't know if that's even something that could hurt your well, but like somebody to sign off in writing that that's safe every time it rains. That's going right in there. None of the groundwater from Chamberlain Highway, there's no catch basins there. The only catch basin that runs into Stockings Brook that goes through there into the watershed is on Heritage Drive. So all that runoff from Chamberlain Highway is just going into the grass. Now, all of a sudden you took 5 miles of Chamberlain Highway, you relocated it on the same elevation of that brook, which is all of our backyards. It's only 4 houses. And you just relocated 3,000 yards there. So I don't know if that's a potential environmental issue, watershed for our gardens, but I would definitely appreciate wetlands from Berlin taking a look at that.
Okay, thank you. Just, so, sir, you never got an answer from the, when you talked to the town, did you get an answer from the town or just curious?
Well, I talked with Jim Horrible
Okay,
briefly. He was on just coming back from vacation.
okay,
I ended up getting the number. He referred me to the Connecticut Health District.
Okay.
I called the supervisor there and this has been the whole process, but also when the neighbors called the DEP, everybody just started with that, just trying to find answers.
Yeah.
You can hear things like acceptable limits, polyhydrocarbons. Now the neighbor next door is all worried about taking a shower. And it seems like there's no real direct answer. Not that I've done that much research. But I would hope
Okay.
the experts on the wetlands committee, I
Yeah.
mean, that's gotta be in the wetland topography in that zone. It's gotta be within 5 feet of that stream top of that bank from where those millings are.
all right,
So whatever that's worth, I'm not an expert, we're just a lay person, but
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't get into the well and the groundwater's safe, then
okay,
it'll be an issue.
thank you. Yeah, thank you for the follow-up. So, yes, absolutely, yes.
My name is Michelle Genota, and I'm at 2074 Chamberlain Highway. And our property is directly abutting the property where the millings are located. When we found out that there was going to be millings stored there, 50% of the millings that are there were going to be there temporarily. The other 50% were going to be used there. And we were told that about 50% of what was milled from the Chamberlain Highway was going to be there because there were actually 2 different storage spots for it or drop-off locations for it. So not the full amount, from what I understand, was brought there. So I called the DOT and I called the DEEP and I spoke with Brian from the DEEP. I don't have his last name, but I do have the name of my contacts at the DOT. And I found out that the primary issue with contaminations from millings is at the time of grinding because it releases a gas. And that once that is ground up and wherever it's deposited, the anything that is put off by those millings is nominal at best. We also had a groundwater study done on our property because several years back, we had an oil spill in our basement. We had an oil company deliver oil to our house and we do not have oil. We had some old oil filled pipes that we hadn't taken off
Oh,
yet.
no.
So it took
Yeah, right.
4 years for that to be remediated from our property. At that time, they did a groundwater study and they determined that the groundwater flow in that area is from the northeast to the southwest in direction. So we felt confident since our well is within a couple of 100 feet of these millings, that there was not going to be a contamination issue. And it is also moving because of the direction of the stream there at where it comes across the back of our property and hits the farm, the barnyard area, it takes kind of a swerve west and south. And since the groundwater flow is in a southerly direction, if you draw parallel lines, there shouldn't be contamination to that area or to that stream. It certainly shouldn't be getting into the stream and heading towards, Heritage Drive and Southington Road because of the direction of flow of the groundwater in that area. I have paperwork at home. I didn't know that. I think that I might need it to show the results of that groundwater flow study. And then if you need the names of the people that I contacted at the DOT, that would be, I would have that available.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yes.
I'm not really good with my north, south, east, and west, but Stockings Brook behind.
Uh,
sorry.
Come on.
Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just for the, we got to record it. That's all. No, that's all right.
That's Stockings Brook runs north under Heritage Drive. So it is going, it comes out of from Park Road. Like you could go to Heritage Drive and look, flowing north there and it breaks off. Because we used to walk it as kids and it branches off Stockings Brook, hangs a right, it goes into Timberland. It takes a hard left, it heads west, it turns into Pennybrook, crosses Orchard Road by the intersection of Edgewood and goes right into Kenmere under that thing. So, yeah, maybe the groundwater in the aquifer is flowing. That's great news if that's going northeast, southwest. But that brook is flowing north under Heritage Drive. If I'm picturing which is north is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right.
Mark, can I just make a comment? on
Yes.
this?
Certainly.
I was contacted by one of my constituents in regards to this situation. And I guess the Central Health District did come out and take a
Oh.
look at the situation.
Oh, okay.
She's on vacation this week, but I did speak with Charlie.
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah. The head of the district. Yeah.
This morning.
Yeah.
And he said it's still up in the air in terms of, if he's in fact out of compliance. But I know Global was involved in this. I also know that this is a temporary situation and that those millings that have been brought in there and left there are hopefully going to be out of there in a very short period of time. And they seem to be okay with that in terms of the health district. Now, I didn't talk to anybody at DEP, okay? Because I didn't have a name and I didn't know that they had been contacted as well. But there are issues, staffing issues there. I was lucky that they answered the phone, I'm sure, at the health department. So she's back from vacation in 2 weeks, but they are looking to move those millings out of there like ASAP. Using some of them for the farm, which according to the health district is not an issue, and the rest of them being removed.
Okay.
Not being sold.
Okay.
Okay.
May I comment?
Yeah. Yeah.
I live in that neighborhood and the state's very slow to enforce any environmental issue on the Chamberlain Highway. There's a pile of contaminated fill that was so polluted, it was required to be excavated from the ground. And you're usually required to keep it under plastic to stop the spread of the pollution. Every time it rains, it wants to wash out of the soil.
Okay.
And there's a huge pile next to an old gas station that's been there for months. And the plastic's gone, and every time it rains, you can watch it ooze down to the neighboring soil. So there's almost no enforcement by the state because they all work from home and you can't see that stuff in their house. So
Great. Sure. One last quick comment, please, and then we'll move on.
My other question is this. even if this material isn't considered contaminated material, why is a farm and 2-acre residential zoning considered a storage area for asphalt millings, for anything, as far as that's concerned? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So, yes, sir.
Ryan Rogan, 2104 Chamberlain Highway. I'd like to address some concerns. First being that, yes, Barbara did come out to the farm. I have spoken with her. Off of our conversation, my steps forward seem satisfactory, is what I gathered. I have been in contact with the town over the concerns. What I've gathered is that I did fall out of compliance. We set forward a plan and a time frame to get me back into compliance. So this is not something that the town is ignoring.
Yeah.
So basically, millings that we are using for the farm, we are using them to make the farm functional. The property is 64 acres. It is 3/4 of a mile deep by 1/8 of a mile wide. We have a current road that was in there for forever, that we are using the millings to take care of it, bring it back into being, not a mess. Maintenance. We're also using them around the barn and driveway area. I expect to use a majority of what I have there. Everything else is being taken off the property. I am not getting any money for it. I'm happy to say that on record. So, and I do intend, obviously, I have a day job. I'm trying to do it as fast as I can, as far as the spreading and maintenance of the property. And I have, spoken with the company that is trucking them off my property, and I've asked them to get it done ASAP. Just wanted to let.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, anyone different on this issue? Anyone online, if you heard it on this issue of the millings on Chamberlain Highway? Okay, so if we could just, Roche, follow up with town staff, whoever is working on this.
Yeah, I
just
just asked Mike Ahern.
Oh,
Mobile is aware of it. They're working on it. It's not like a.
Oh.
Right.
Okay, so we're working on the issue. Oh, okay. All right, that's what I just want to make sure the town obviously is aware. Folks have called the town, and just make sure we get back to the residents so they know what we've done, what we're doing, what we need to do, what the, landowner would need to do. I think the one across the street where the park is, if I'm not mistaken, from what I recall hearing that, they were, for that walking trail, I think they were making a parking lot on the Bennerup property, I believe, right? And then they're turning over to the town. I think that's what I've heard, but if we could check on that too. I think that was the deal over there with the Bennerup property, that there was a parking lot that whoever bought that piece was gonna make, and the town then was able to use it for people to park to take that walking trail. I don't know where that stands. I think the gentleman said there was a fence going down the road where the parking lot was supposed to be, or is supposed to be. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if we could check on that, that's on the other, I think that's on the other side of the street against the mountain, right? That's against the mountain.
Talking about next to Ragged Mountain where the preserve is? One?
It's, no,
No.
no,
Doing a
it's
parking lot.
by where the old, like, just past where the old chicken coops are,
Okay.
going towards Meriden on the left. Yeah, I think there's the new walking trail is going onto some open space there, but I pretty sure I heard that the owner who bought it from Mr. Bennerup is making a parking lot for the town, as part of whatever the deal was with Mr. Bennerup in the town. I just have heard that. So if we could confirm that and make sure whenever that parking lot's done, that people can access the parking lot and hence the trail.
See, Jim Mahoney,
Oh,
do
sure.
you have anything
Maybe
to
Jen
add,
knows.
Jim?
Yes, my understanding was that it was proposed, the easement was proposed to be moved to another property that Mr. Bennerup also sold. with a new parking lot and a new trail connection. But
Okay.
the easement has not been moved. So I believe that Maureen is aware of this and is, issuing a notice of a violation in the process of doing that.
Okay, so they're moving it from the parking lot where the fence is to a different one? Or that's
Yes.
the,
Yeah, that's what they're proposing, but they've got to move the easement first,
gotcha, yeah. of
They
course.
haven't done it yet. So they're not in compliance.
Okay, so planning and zoning's aware and they're working on it.
Yes.
Okay,
That doesn't explain all the trucks.
Huh?
That doesn't explain the truck depot there.
no, that's the, the truck, right, which property is the truck on that property? By the opens, the new open space trail? Oh, yeah, we're back, where those green, like the pole barns, the greenhouses were.
That's where our
Okay,
existing access is.
Right, so we got to check on that, why it's a truck repair shop now, that shouldn't be the truck repair shop, I guess is, as well as the other property you're talking about, while we're talking about Millings. Didn't you mention again, that's a different property,
North of there is a different property.
right, right,
It was a gas station.
right,
Now there's a huge pile of contaminated soil that's oozing out into the,
so could we check on that pile there too? That's the.
We can't do anything.
Yeah, I know, no. Add that to the list
oh, God.
and just make sure we get back to everyone involved, the homeowners and, in that whole area, just so at some point we can contact all of them and tell them what progress we've made and what the resolution is to all of it. Does that make sense to everyone? We'll get back to you. Any questions? If you don't hear back in a while, call the town manager, call Mr. Roche, and he can direct you to whatever department, to the staff that's handling that particular issue. So we'll get it straightened out. All right, that makes sense? Okay. All right. Okay, anyone else in the audience of citizens for anything else? Oh, yes, right. I'm sorry. Yes, Attorney Fishbein.
Thank
You're
you.
up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council,
How are
Mr.
you?
Town Manager. Good over you. As you already know, I represent the complaining party with regard to item number 15 that's on your agenda. I just wanted to take some time to, now that you have the record, I believe you've been reviewing the record. Thank you for that review. I just wanted to frame some of the issues that may be.
Hang on one second.
Yep.
Hang on one second. Let's just make sure your volume is up.
I'll just speak louder. Is that good? Is that better?
Not really.
Okay.
Hang on. Try it now, Mr.
How's that?
Better.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay, great. Should I start again, or did you get all that?
No, go ahead. Start again. Yeah, it was hard to
Okay.
hear it all.
Good
Sorry
evening,
about
Mr. Yeah, no problem at all. It gives me a second time to do this. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Town Manager. As you know, I represent the complainant in item number 15, which is currently before you in the penalty phase, so to speak. I just wanted to take some time, now that you have the record. I know you've been diligently looking at the record, and I thank you for that. I just wanted to frame some of the issues there as you do look at what you will more than likely have to do in this case, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. So, generally what we're dealing with here is what's known colloquially as an October surprise. Now, what is that? That's a news event that's released just before an election with the intent to influence the election. Many times they're untrustworthy, but given the timing, they're effective because the opponent doesn't have an opportunity to respond. The evidence in this case clearly shows that an elected official conspired with a campaign operative as well as the Democratic Town Committee to put in an ethics complaint against my client, Donna Veach. And your ethics code, in my experience, is unusual. The confidentiality provision, ordinarily they are confidential. But unless probable cause is found, and then it can become public. But yours goes a step further. It says this complaint is confidential, even if probable cause is found. There has to be a disposition of this. In this case, the evidence shows that even though the complaint was dismissed, that Joanne Angelico Stetson, along with the Berlin Democratic Town Committee, publicly published, mailed to thousands of people about this complaint. And it had already been dismissed. I mean, that's very troubling here. We don't know how much, how many, but if you look at the record, the mailing went out October 18. It hit about October 26th. And as you know, the 2020 election had a lot of absentee ballots because we were going through the pandemic. So a lot of people are voting right at that time, perhaps on that day. The testimony was, and if you look at the record, the transcript from November 17th, page 79, Ms. Angelico Stetson testifies that she did it because the goal is victory. That's the October surprise. Do anything you can to win an election. You know, how many? We know on page 43 that it's more than likely more than 1,000. At page 44, during the hearing, I'm showing her a record from the SEEC, which anybody can access. It's publicly available, where the mailing was in excess of $3,000. Now, based upon my experience, those mailings, those postcards, they cost about 50 cents each. So that would be 6,000 disseminations right there. We also know that it was on Facebook. Well, I use the past tense, but that's improper because I'll tell you that because of sharing, that post is still out there. It's still on the internet. Ultimately, the powers that you have before you in order to levy a penalty are limited in some aspects. But ultimately, it says that you can issue a penalty of not more than $1,000 per violation. At the hearing, it became irrelevant how many times this has been violated, because the fact of the matter is a violation is a violation of the ethics code. But your, I believe, I just want to reference the correct document. It's your ethics policy at 1.6 clearly says up to $1,000 per violation. So that's one analysis. It's approximately 6,000 or something like that times a number, which could be 1,000. It's a large number. Another way to perhaps deal with this is to ask whomever ultimately sent out this list who they mailed it to. For this body, of course, with my approval on behalf of my client, to approve a letter to go to all of those individuals to be paid for by the complainant. I think ultimately that number would be lower, quite frankly. But I think the dissemination of this false, illegal information should be corrected in some way, shape, or form. So I just thank you for your time and attention. I know we'll be seeing each other over the many months of deliberations, but thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Attorney Fishbein, appreciate that. And we have that on our agenda, so we'll just have a couple comments about that when we get to it. In fact, maybe we'll just move it up and not wait till the end. But audience of citizens, we're still in it. Any other comments on it? Anything else in town? Good, bad? Okay, not hearing anyone online. We're good. All right, so we'll close the audience of citizens. And the mayor's update. Okay, real quick, I'll keep it quick. I know we got a big agenda here. We've got a lot to do. Just want to mention that the ordinance committee met Monday night and last night, and we are working on an ordinance, and a lot of that stemmed from the the party incident, whatever it is on Orchard Road a couple of weekends ago, the huge party with 400 people or so at this house blocking roads and creating havoc in that part of town. So we're working on an ordinance, and I know the ordinance will take care of perhaps some future events. We have to work on the language of that. That's one way. Planning and zoning is working on some other efforts that would hopefully remediate some of that. And really the police department, as we discussed last night, is on the day of, would be the ones that, would really have the issue in their hand that day. So I know we're going to talk to them a little bit informally. I know they've looked at that issue. They're still looking at what happened that day and working on, some plans for the future, should that occur again anywhere in town, not just at that house. So we're working on that. I just wanted to mention to the council, we had a brief update on we're still talking about the pension for the police department. We're working on that. We got to work on some language, some different things that's still out there. The community center is not on our agenda this time. We sent it to the Board of Finance for a advisory opinion. I think they're going to send it back to us by our July 12th meeting. And then we'll have to do some more deliberation on the community center plan and see where that goes. And I also wanted to mention Saturday, there was a Juneteenth program at the library, which I thought went great. It was a great event, and many council members, Donna was there, Charlie, myself, and Jack was there. And the keynote speaker was a great gentleman. He was a Vietnam vet and a retired Hartford fire captain for 27 years, lived in Hartford his whole life, and he just had some great points to make. He was a great speaker, and it was an enjoyable event. So I'm glad that that turned out well, and great information came out of that. And honestly, the speaker, who had just so much experience and obviously through his life, the best thing he said was the end of his speech was, "Hey, we all got to live together. We all should be working to get along." So it was just a good positive message to bring forward to everyone. So great event. So that's it for my report. Let's go on to our consent agenda. And first we'll take a motion to just, if we could remove item number 2 for a separate vote.
I move to remove item number 2 for separate vote and make it 1A on the regular agenda.
All right, thank you. Second on that? Second?
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, so
Hello,
moved.
everybody. Can you hear me?
We'll vote on that. Yeah, Brendan, hey, you're there.
I am here.
Yes, we got you. Good. Welcome. Thanks for taking
Thank you.
time out
Got up-
from your vacation.
Got up
huh?
early this morning to go 2 time zones so I could call in today.
Oh, that's right.
We're nationwide tonight.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take that out. We'll handle that. If we could make a motion, we've all read through our, there's 7 other topics that we have on our consent agenda that are listed on the agenda as well. So we can, if we've all read them over, I'm sure we have. I'm not gonna read them all this evening. And we'll go ahead and take a vote on those. We'll take a motion on the consent agenda other than number 2.
I move to accept the consent agenda as presented, except for item 2.
All right, thank you. Second on that?
Second that.
Thank you. Any other comments and questions from the council? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved. And we'll take topic number 2, which is to approve the request of the New Britain Youth Museum in Hungerford Park to waive permit fees for all permits, building, electrical and plumbing and fire suppression. The total amount of the fees to be waived is approximately $540. That's from our building department. So we'll go ahead and take a motion on that one.
I move to approve the request of the New Britain Youth Museum in Hungerford Park to waive the permit fees for all permits, building, electrical, plumbing, and fire suppression. The total amount of fees to be waived is approximately $540.
Thank you. Second on that?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm abstaining.
1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries. All right, so we are on to our
Thank you.
new business.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is the to appropriate 288,000 of outside police services receipts. Follow up from the town meeting.
Okay, so we obviously have discussed that before. We had our public town meeting tonight. We had no, excuse me, we had no comments. We're all probably good with that. So any comments or additional questions from the council? Hearing none, go ahead and take a motion on that.
I move to approve a non-budgeted appropriation of $288,000 from the outside police services account to the extra duty police officer account, both in the general fund, pending approval by the Board of Finance.
Thank you. Second on that?
Second that.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, so moved on that. Could I just make a motion just to, 'cause I know could we just move so we can discuss it for a moment, item 15 up to now after 1?
Make a motion to move item 15 to item 2A.
Yeah. Or what, I guess 1A,
1A.
right? 1A, yeah.
I thought 1A was the last motion, but whatever.
Oh, 1A, no, I think we're good. Okay, second on that?
Let's second that.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So that's the complaint that we have had before us for a while, the violation of ethics policy and code of ethics. So we finally, I think now have all the information. There's two two hearings. We have the minutes to them, and we have all the examples, all the exhibits now, I believe. So I know we're still reading through them. They're very long. We appreciate attorneys Fishbein's comments to help us in our deliberation. So what I would say, we would continue to read through it. I've gotten through some of it, but it is fairly voluminous. So we can talk about it in a next upcoming meeting or two. It has been appealed to court, which town attorney is handling, but we can still have a little bit of general discussion. And then I think Attorney D'Onofrio, if I'm correct, before we would be able to vote on a final resolution as far as the council goes, right? We're waiting for the deposition in court, whatever.
The position that the council took at the prior meeting was that you would wait until the Superior Court adjudicated the appeal before you took any action on it. The appellant filed a motion to stay that was denied by the court, but we did indicate to the court that the town council, over which the court has no jurisdiction because it's not a party to the appeal, would voluntarily agree to stay its vote on any penalty until after the court renders a decision.
Okay, yeah, so that's where we're at. We'll, like I say, read through the materials, and we can have it maybe in the next meeting or two. Well, maybe not the next meeting, maybe the second one in July before we kind of recess for August, talk about it a little bit. Next meeting, we have probably a big agenda on the next meeting in July 12th. So, and then we'll, we can have further discussions and certainly wait for the court to complete its action there. So, so no action on that for this evening. So thank you. Okay, so we're on number 2.
Yeah, agenda item number 2 is a report that you have from the Charter Revision Commission. Leave it enough. Give a little summary, and then objective is to set a public hearing for July 12th. Motion on the table. If you all agree.
Yes.
Would you like me to walk you through what the Charter Revision Commission sent you by way of proposed edits?
Yes,
Okay,
that would be great.
today is the longest day of the year, so
Might as well take advantage, no?
go Got the extra,
Cloudy though, it's already getting. dark.
Perhaps we could still get out of here before it gets dark then with
use
that
the
in
extra
mind.
time.
Yeah, probably not, but no, I know it's not happening
Right.
tonight, but that's.
So just going in the order that they appear, all the edits that are in here are redlined. And the first such proposed edit is in section 2-8. And what 2-8 currently is the provision of the charter that provides for the election of the Berlin Board of Education solely on the basis of petitions. In other words, as it presently stands, the town committees do not nominate the candidates for Board of Education. The candidates obtain petitions with the requisite number of signatures, and they do not appear on a party line on the ballot. They appear with no party affiliation indicated. The Charter Revision Commission, in a 3-2 vote on this item, proposed to change the manner in which the Board of Ed is nominated and elected to that which is consistent with the Connecticut general statutes. The legal authority for Berlin having a Board of Education that is elected by a petition-only process is not legal under the current Connecticut general statutes. Rather, Berlin has relied upon a special act from many years ago to give it its authority for electing the Board of Education in this manner. So the proposed change is to change it to a statutory method of nomination and election rather than a petition only. Now, if someone wants to petition their way onto the ballot, they would still have the opportunity to do it. But the expectation would be that the town committees would nominate candidates, and those candidates would appear on a line with the rest of their fellow Republican or Democrat nominees. And in order for that to occur, if this provision ultimately is what goes to the electors in the November election and is adopted, there needs to be a transition. So the language that's in section 2-8 provides for a process through which the Board of Ed transitions from its current membership of petition-only members to members that are nominated and elected in accordance with the Connecticut general statutes. The next edit after 2-8 has to do with petitioning candidates, and this is just a clarification. In 2-9-1, there was a discussion by the commission about clarifying what it means to be a petitioning candidate. So you'll see here that that language has been clarified so that the candidate, if he or she exists, would be listed on a ballot as a petitioning candidate. There's a clarifying edit in 2-13. This pertains to vacancies in general for elective town office. There was a concern that the language, same political party as that of the former incumbent, was a little bit vague. So we just changed it to say same political party as nominated. And this again was a unanimous edit because the parties felt that the practice, as it is in most towns, is when you have a vacancy to fill it from someone from the same political party. But the concern is that someone could change their party affiliation. So let's say it's a Republican seat and a Republican during the time that they're seated changes their party affiliation to unaffiliated or Democrat. And then when they leave the board or commission, the way it's presently worded, you could argue that you could replace them with an unaffiliated or a Democrat, but all 5 members of the Charter Revision Commission agreed that the idea is it's your seat, you fill the vacancy. So that's just a clarifying edit.
The intention would be to preserve minority representation on the council.
Well, that's, the minority representation issue really wasn't what the concern was. The concern was that even though the practice has been, this was your nominee, the nominee has vacated the seat, who do you want to replace he or she with? The concern was that the way it's worded, arguably you could say, well, they were a Republican or they were a Democrat when they were put in the seat, but they're not a Republican or a Democrat anymore, so now the seat belongs to us. The minority representation is always going to dictate regardless of any of that circumstance, but the idea was, let's just clarify it so that there's no confusion in the future about whose seat it is in the event of a vacancy. The next item, and a lot of the proposed revisions in here are financial operational issues that came from the requests of the finance director and or the town manager. The first one is in 3-8. Right now, the town can't purchase or contract to purchase in excess of $10,000 without Board of Finance, Town Council, and town meeting approval. So the way that this reads now is, as you know, and this was one of the primary items for charter revision that you addressed in your charge, was to increase the bid threshold from 10,000 to 25,000. I put language in there that says, or such greater amount as is authorized in the Connecticut general statutes, so you don't have to come back every time the statute is raised. Okay? In other words, it's taken it's taken a long time to get to $25,000. So I wouldn't lose any sleep thinking you're going to wake up in 2023 and it's going to be $100,000. But if they raise it from $25,000 to $30,000, you don't have to do a charter revision. You could do it by ordinance, but this just covers you so that if you want it, the council decides, hey, you know what? It's now 30,000. That's what the statute is. We're comfortable with that. This gives you the flexibility of doing that without doing another charter revision. In addition to 3-8 is that all town collective bargaining agreements, including Board of Ed union contracts, must be presented to the council for approval in accordance with applicable state law.
Attorney Knopfler, if I may.
Yeah.
So what is the current statutory authority that governs collective bargaining in the state of Connecticut as it relates to presentation to the town council?
Well, they really should be coming to the town council.
Okay.
And I think there seems to be some confusion about the difference between an arbitration award and a collective bargaining agreement. In other words, there seemed to be some thought on the Charter Revision Commission that there was a limited amount of time for the town council to approve or reject a collective bargaining agreement, and then it was automatically ratified. That's not the law. That has to do with arbitration awards, accepting arbitration awards. But the contracts should be coming here. Some of the contracts do come here. But this just codifies what's already in the law, statutory. Okay. The next item is in 4-2. This has to do with financial reports from the Board of Education to the Director of Finance. Right now, there's a requirement that the Board of Ed submit to the council on a monthly basis reports detailing monthly Board of Ed expenses and budget transfers. The request from the town administration was that, these reports be prepared by the 15th day of the following month for each of the prior months, and that they be on a form agreeable to the Director of Finance. Again, a lot of this stuff has to do with best practices and simply codifying in the charter practices that may or may not already be in place or should be in place. The The next item is section 4-4-1. This has to do with the qualifications to serve on the Board of Finance. The current language prohibits Board of Finance members not only from being a town employee, but from serving on any elective or appointed board or commission while they're on a Board of Finance. That's a unnecessarily restrictive provision. It certainly makes sense to prohibit Board of Finance members from serving on the Board of Education or the Town Council. Likewise, you can't be an employee of the town if you're on the Board of Finance. I mean, there's a state statute, incompatibility of office statute, and really Board of Finance members aren't supposed to have any salaried position for the town. But other than that, there's no inherent conflict, and there's many towns, towns I consider to be well-run, that have need for Board of Finance members to serve on different boards and commissions. The best example is a building committee for a major capital project. We have significant financial responsibility and tasks that need to be performed by a volunteer committee. Having somebody from the Board of Finance with presumably a financial acumen on the building committee can be of value. So the recommendation on this one from me is to just narrow the prohibition to Board of Ed, Town Council, and of course, you can't be an employee of the town and be on the Board of Finance.
Just for my notes, so it's any salaried position. That's what the statute is?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's not just employee. For example, you can't be in some towns where the treasurer is a 1099 elected and paid public official. It applies to the treasurer in that scenario as well. Next item is section 5-1. This has to do with residency of the town manager. There was a lot of discussion about this item. And the Charter Revision Commission agreed to recommend that the manager need not be a resident of Berlin, but should be a resident, must be a resident of Connecticut. The next item is under 5-3. This has to do with duties of the town manager. And this is a cleanup edit. This 5-3D didn't make any sense to anybody. Prepare and cause to be printed as soon as possible after the close of the fiscal year, an annual town report. As you'll see when we get deeper in, hopefully in a couple of minutes, there's a statutory financial report that has to be submitted on an annual basis. This is not a reference to that. Nobody really knows what this is a reference to. So the proposal is to get it out of there.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Next, under section 5-5, purchasing and payments. Again, this increases the bid threshold from $10,000 to $25,000. And also keep in mind that there are certain procurement situations where that bid threshold, even though it's raised, will not be relied upon by the town to avoid public bidding. Any project that's receiving federal funds under the federal uniform guidance would have to be procured by public bidding. Most projects receiving state funds, including school construction projects and grant funded projects, would have to be public bid as well. So in situations where there's no state or federal money, there's no grant requirement, and it's 25,000 or under, this would give the town the flexibility and, quite frankly, save the cost of advertising it for bid.
Does this work the same way as the other one? The other change about changing by ordinance the amount?
Yeah.
It goes up the same way?
Yep, exactly. The next item, 6-9. Under 6-9, there was a provision that said the fire protection shall be provided by the volunteer companies heretofore established in the organization and conduct of which no change is contemplated, and then there shall be a fire marshal. So there's two proposed changes to 6-9. The first was the Charter Revision Commission, at the request of Mr. Simons at the public hearing a couple weeks ago. Was it last week? Last week. Mr. Simons had requested that the reference to volunteer be omitted. because of the difficulty in recruiting and retaining volunteers, he was concerned about leaving that language in. And my response to that was, well, right now, this is how the service is being provided. And my concern is that by eliminating the reference to volunteer, it somehow would be construed as eliminating volunteers.
Mm.
So my suggestion was to just say, instead of eliminating the reference to volunteers, just say, or as otherwise provided by this charter or by ordinance. So if there comes a point in time when the council decides that it's going to provide fire service through either paid fire or a hybrid, you can do that by ordinance. You don't have to open up the charter to deal with it.
So we would have a little more flexibility in addressing volunteer status versus paid status in the fire department without having to reopen the charter altogether.
Yes.
Awesome.
And then we broke out fire marshal because the fire marshal's appointed by the town manager and really nothing to do with the fire department. So we made that a separate paragraph, paragraph 610. And then 610 becomes 611. And the edits that you see in 611 were, for the most part, requested by the finance director. The first edit in 611.2 is the deletion of reference to the heads of these divisions, because this isn't the way that town hall government is currently structured. There's no such thing as a town accountant. And the structure that is currently in place is reflected in the edited 611.2. Also in 611.2 on page 27, the finance director requested that the financial report for fiscal year end be submitted within 180 days rather than 120 days, because the 180 days is what's required by law. So I put in there, or such other data as may be required by the Connecticut general statutes. That's currently the way it's done. That's compliant with the statute. So his request was just to update that. 611.4, this has to do with the town's pension system. We added reference to the Board of Finance. I guess this was missed in 2016 when the Board of Finance was added back into the charter, but the Board of Finance approval, in addition to the town council and town manager, should be required for pension changes. We added a sentence to the end of 611.4, which is pretty significant. And this was the request of the auditor through the finance director. The request is to codify what's been done the last few years, which is fund the ARC. So this language says the Board of Finance and the Town Council shall include the annual actuarially determined contribution. It's calculated by qualified independent actuary engaged by the town in the annual general fund budget. So this would make it mandatory that you do this good thing of funding the ARC. And it'll score you points with your outside auditor, and I'm sure with bond rating agencies. The next item in 611.6B is the deletion of reference to finance or capital leases. And this is deletion of the requirement that finance or capital leases be approved in the same manner as bond authorizations are approved. And there's basically a couple of reasons for Kevin requesting this. One is that any lease of any significance is going to be over $25,000. So it's going to have to go through the whole approval process. And secondly, it really doesn't make any sense on smaller leases to go through the newspaper publication, town meeting process like you do when you're bonding. The town just doesn't do many leases, and if you're not going to go through that process for a copy machine lease, for example. The next edit in the same paragraph, 611.6B, is an edit that's now in here twice, which is adding the authority for the registrars, if they both agree, to have the referendum be voted on at a single polling location. They both have to agree. So if one disagrees then it stays as is. But the idea was that given turnout and given the expense associated and the challenges associated with a multiple polling location referendum on the budget, it just didn't make a lot of sense. I've seen other towns do this. North Haven's had one polling location for the budget referendum for a long time. We went from having them in the high school for 120 years to having them go to 5 polling places and spending $7,000 to have 6% of the voters turn out. Now they have it in the community center. So, unless you think you're going to get thousands of people showing up for a particular referendum, it makes sense to give the registrars the chance to simplify things.
In terms of in practice, how it's implemented, what would be the savings for the town by just having it at one place as opposed to the just standard 3?
I don't know that I heard specific numbers. I think people were throwing numbers around, but I don't think I heard any.
Yeah, $5,000-6,000 number was just thrown around.
It'd be 1/3 the cost.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah,
Yeah, not exactly.
yeah, some get more traffic than others.
But
also yeah.
Convenience too, right?
Well, just to tie up the multiple town buildings for, not necessary for, I don't know, what we have in the last budget referendum, 500 people? Yeah, very small number to go to 3 different polling places. So, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Just
Next item is 611C. This, there's two edits here. One is just finance director or his designee instead of finance director or the non-existent town accountant. And then one that Kevin requested, that last sentence that says every payment made in violation of the provisions of this charter shall be deemed illegal, and any official authorizing or making the payment shall be liable. That language tracks a Connecticut general statute 7-348 that basically stands for the proposition that if you're spending money that hasn't been properly appropriated, which means it's not in a budget, or approved, which could be something that had to go out to bid and you didn't bid it, then you're liable for it. And Kevin's concern was the or making part. In other words, he doesn't have any problem being liable if he authorizes an illegal expense. But if a Roche authorizes it and Kevin's office just simply prints the check, Kevin doesn't want to be liable for it. So, I told them that I've interpreted 7-348, and I actually had, as a young lawyer, I actually had a case where we had a town, wasn't Berlin. I said young lawyer. So 30 years ago, we had a town where a zoning board of appeals didn't like a planning and zoning commission's decision. So they hired a lawyer to sue the planning and zoning commission. And I was young and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and this town said to me, how do we make this stop? How do we put an end to this? And I said, well, they weren't authorized to spend the money to hire the lawyer. So let's sue the chairman of the planning and zoning commission.
nice.
So we served them, and then magically the whole thing went away. But that's Kevin's concern, is that, if all his office does is make a payment and they didn't authorize it, he doesn't want to be liable. Okay.
Could share a cell with a Roche. What do you mean? I mean, both.
Yeah, so you got a
both of you
Roche
could
on the
go.
hook anyway.
I know.
611.9, this is a terminology change. For many, many years, the town has filed what GASP has referred to as a comprehensive annual financial report. The acronym is CAFR. CAFR is apparently now a prohibited word. So the new term in the accounting world is Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, ACFR, for the time being. So that's a terminology update.
Okay.
7-1, this is annual budget requests. The proposal is to move the requests from the town departments from January 5th to December 1st. So basically accelerated a month, start the budget process earlier. The next edit's in 7-6, annual town budget referendum. We already talked about that. That's registrars upon unanimous consent changing to one polling location. Next edit is in 7-6E. This has to do with the timing of the second referendum. Kate requested that we move this from 4 weeks following the first referendum to 3 weeks. And she had a good reason for that, namely that as it's currently structured, there's a little bit of a date conflict. Next edits in 7-Eleven. This has to do with the size of unbudgeted, unencumbered appropriations. So you've got a need to spend money. It's not in the budget. It's not appropriated. You need to either take it out of contingency or from the unappropriated fund balance. As it currently stands, the council, after the Board of Finance requests such a appropriation, can only vote on non-budgeted appropriations if they're under $25,000. Otherwise, a town meeting is required before you can vote. So right now, the process is Board of Finance, town meeting, town council. The finance department is recommending increasing that threshold from 25,000 to 100,000, and then the aggregate threshold from 250 to 500. And that's just to reflect the current times. You know, when you had 25, 250, your budget was a lot smaller and your contingency fund was a lot smaller and things cost a lot less money. This would still mean the Board of Finance and the town council, two elected bodies, would have to approve it. It would just eliminate the town meeting if it's under $100,000 instead of 25.
So once it goes to $100,000, town meeting happens.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Also in 7-Eleven, the request is that right now, there's 3 categories of transfers that could be made. You have the transfers from one line item to another within a department budget or intra-departmental transfers. You have interdepartmental transfers, and then you have those unencumbered transfers of unencumbered funds from the contingency line item or the unappropriated fund balance. So right now, those transfers all have to take place the last 3 months of the year. I have no idea why that is the case. I've never seen that before. Kevin would like it to be 6 months. I mean, look, the reason that the reason that towns put in charters and ordinances and in best practices a period during which you make transfers is because you don't want to circumvent the budgeting process through the transfer process. In other words, you don't want to have something that's not approved in the budget, and then in August, you're making transfers to fund something that didn't get approved in the budget. So it makes sense to not have it be the first few months of the budget year, but certainly there's no magic behind 3 months, and Kevin's request for 6 months, I think, is reasonable. And there's a provision in here that the finance director provide the Board of Finance with a summary of interdepartment transfers on a monthly basis. That's already done, but again, codifying a practice, that's a common practice. Just making the charter nice and transparent for future generations to show them how it's supposed to be done, right?
Good idea.
The last change in 7-Eleven has to do with Arosh's transfer authority. The town manager right now can transfer $5,000. Okay, and this is, again, this is a very narrow category. This is one line item to another line item within the same department budget. So let's say there's a Public Works budget is $1 million. And let's say one line item's out of money, but another line item has unencumbered funds. And Arosh wants to transfer those unencumbered budgeted funds to another line item in the same department budget. Right now, he can only do it up to $5,000. So the proposal was to eliminate that altogether. The Charter Revision Commission was not comfortable with that. They debated it and said they were okay with increasing the transfer authority to 10,000 from 5,000. So I don't know what the point is, but I don't get a vote. 7-15, I talked about before, annual report. Okay. By state statute, there's a basically 2-part report that has to be submitted every year. That is the audit report and the annual report of the tax collector. Other than that, there's no annual reports required by law. As it's presently worded, annual reports by boards, commissions, committees, and elected or appointed officials by a date specified by the manager. So there is an informal booklet that town manager's office puts together based on various submissions that he receives. But town manager's suggestion was to eliminate this. He really doesn't see any value in it. Is that fair? And the last edit is the VNA.
Hallelujah.
The first shall be last. So as you know, there's been considerable discussion about the Berlin VNA, what alternatives and options are available to, on the one hand, provide the high-quality responsive service that Berlin residents have come to expect and enjoy, while on the other hand, mitigate the financial burden that the deficit it continues to run poses for taxpayers. So what we came up with was a provision that sunsets the Berlin VNA once you, the town council, have adopted an ordinance through which you will provide public nursing services through some other means. In other words, right now, there's no clear-cut solution. Right now, there's an obligation to provide this service. Right now, there's a provider in place in the Berlin VNA, and the patient's rights are being protected. So rather than just for the sake of changing it, putting some vague provision as to how the services are going to be provided, the consensus was to have a new chapter, chapter 11, which begins on page 51, that deals with transitioning the public nursing services provided by the Berlin VNA to another provider, or through some combination of the Berlin VNA and another provider, once you have an ordinance through which those services will be authorized. So the current method would remain intact. And once you've adopted an ordinance, then by operation of law and the express sunset provision in this proposed charter amendment, the Berlin VNA provision would go away, and there would no longer be any restriction on the manner in which you provide that service. There you have it. So the next step is for you to schedule the public hearing on July 12th as the proposed date, and listen to what public has to say. And then you'll meet after that and decide what recommendations, if any, you want to send back to the Charter Revision Commission for their consideration. They're not bound by what the council wants them to change, if anything. If you like the charter the way it is, after you hear everybody speak at the public hearing on July 12th, then that's easy. You just tell the Charter Revision Commission, thumbs up, and we'll tee it up for November. If you don't like it and there's changes you want to see made, then after your public hearing, you let them know that, and we'll meet and we'll talk about that and give that the consideration it deserves and see where we land.
I have a quick question. Attorney, do we have any idea how many residents are currently taking advantage of this VNA program? That residents, not people that don't live in Berlin. I'm just curious. Roche?
What's the census?
Any given time,
Right, I'm
60,
sure it doesn't
70
stay the
people.
same. I understand that, but currently right now, how many?
Probably 60
60,
to 60, I would say.
50 to 60? And how many non-residents?
Probably 2/3 residents, 1/3 resident. I mean, Of course,
And I
yeah,
know,
I don't know.
I'm
They
just
keep
I'm
changing
just trying to
every
get
day,
my
so,
head wrapped
yeah.
around that.
majority are.
So 2/3 is
residents.
roughly residents.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
how has it fluctuated? Because I know that that sounds like a similar number to what was communicated to us when the VNA did their presentation back in January. How has it fluctuated since, do you know?
I don't know. Tell you the truth, I don't look at, out of town and in town weekly basis now.
I had a quick clarifying question too, in the section 2-8, page 12. The change to the Board of Education listing here, is that, it said that shall hold their offices for a term of 4 years. Does that mean that then the provision that is currently in place, which is basically the way that some members have their positions for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, that type of thing, that goes away and that everybody gets a 4-year term? Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of discussion about what the right number of years is. And, it's funny because, you sit there and you listen to this particular issue was very interesting, not only because it consumed a large amount of time for the Charter Revision Commission, but because I sat on a Board of Ed for 6 years in Trumbull. My wife sat on a Board of Ed in North Haven for 9 years. So, you listen to this issue about terms, because I had a 2-year term, my wife had a 6-year term. So we've had this conversation at home, what's the right number of years? It takes you some time, to get your feet wet and to become a valuable board member. But they did spend a lot of time talking about the right number of years, and the idea would be eventually, once you've transitioned to the statutorily nominated and elected board, then everybody would have a 4-year term.
If I could just add that the terms would be staggered.
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
So
Yeah.
the
You have
first
to do it
time
that
around,
way.
So the statutory framework is that terms remain staggered.
Well,
I don't know, but
statute
that-
doesn't,
is
there was
what we would
concern that
implement?
we didn't want a whole brand new board every.
yeah, the statute doesn't require you to do that, but that's the way they want to do it.
I see.
And it makes a lot of sense. So you don't want a whole new board.
Yeah, wipe the whole board clean, right?
No.
It's a little complicated to go from the 3-year term to the 4-year term. And the first time around, people would get elected some would get elected for 4 years, some would get elected for 2 years. It gave our town clerk a headache, but she recommended the 4-year term so they would coincide with the municipal elections instead of being on an odd year. She wanted to make everything line up with the.
Yeah, so you'd have 5 on 4-year terms and 4 on 2-year
2-year
terms.
And then eventually everybody'd be a 4-year term, but it'd be every other election.
Every other election, right?
Right.
So when do these questions get formulated by who?
The commission.
I mean, it's all those minor changes, which are all, I'm reading them now tonight, very important, it looks like, but a hell of a lot of changes to put on a ballot. I just, we gotta be careful with that, because that's what we did last time, right? We put a ton of stuff in the cleanup question, which just, I think people probably looked at it and wanted out of the ballot, out of their voting booth, and just said no, because there was probably too much to read, which is unfortunate, because a lot of these are not controversial, important and good things, but
Most of those were unanimous, most of them.
yeah, no, I mean, that's good, but, and that's good but again, the voters, don't like to spend a lot of time in the voter booth, and and plus there's a lot of, right, there's a constitutional question this year on the ballot, you got, all the other different state elections, but I just worry as we get there, how we are gonna, how we're gonna do the questions where we don't have another catch-all question with parts A through Z, whatever, which it appears like it might be that many, right?
Well, I mean, I think
don't know how to do that.
you would have 3 questions. I think you'd have the Board of Ed question.
Yeah.
I think you'd have the VNA question.
Yeah.
And then I think you'd have an omnibus question with the rest of the stuff in it.
Phew, that's a lot of stuff in that last question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of
So
stuff.
I guess,
I don't know.
I mean, if you start breaking stuff out, there was some suggestion about, oh, we should have the town manager, it's a separate question. We should have the bid threshold as a separate question. Now you got 5 questions. That's too many questions.
Shorter, well, the least important, maybe the more important issues are shorter, though. People would, I mean, I know the town manager is an important one.
I think it should be separated.
Yeah, that one might, that's a big
I
issue.
got 4 questions.
Well, we can get rid of one of them. I mean, you know,
Huh, which one would that be?
something to do with the Board of Ed.
Oh. Well, we're not there yet. We're not there yet, but, yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it's a couple people spoke at the public hearing about the town manager issue and, I mean, we have no problem with Arosh because he's been nice enough to move to town.
The-
But I think in Connecticut, we have had, since I've been here and well before me, I know there was candidates, right, that lived in Meriden and we wanted to hire and, they're in Meriden, we're gonna make a move to Berlin. We're gonna hire somebody from Newington, make a move to, I mean, that makes no sense.
I've been
'cause-
on 3 or
feels
4
like-
searches and it
Yeah.
really limits. the
Well, yeah,
number of
limits your
people you
search.
can interview if you have the residence requirement.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
It's
Connecticut's a
hard.
small state,
Luckily, we
so,
found somebody willing to do it, but
right.
a lot of people, so I
There's
live in
not a lot of
Meriden, I'm not
candidates
gonna move
for
over
town
here.
manager out there. It's difficult.
hard.
You're looking for, and you're generally, right, picking senior people that have a house, have kids in school, and to make a move from, Farmington to Berlin, just because they're the town manager. I get the point is they live in town and they pay taxes and all that, but
Whatever
just the limit.
questions we decide on.
Yeah.
We need to educate the voters
yes,
for the election, so when they walk in, they're not like
yeah, agreed.
you're in the headlights. It's
Yeah.
gonna be our job to get the education out there.
Yeah, because a couple of people stood up and said that, well, we want them to live in town, but when you go to hire a new town manager, God forbid a Roche should decide he's had enough
I
of
get
us.
it, the theory is a person pays taxes, they
Yeah.
get skin in the game. I get that,
Right.
that's great, but
But
it's really hard.
yes, you
Yeah,
don't
find a
get a lot of
And the
candidates.
whole premise, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
behind creating the town manager position was to have a professionalized
Correct.
executive officer for the town. And so
Shouldn't,
you don't want to foreclose on really good candidates
right.
who have that professionalized experience.
It's almost better not to have a local person. I've seen in the past years that people that grew up here, they have obligations from friends. It's just human nature, So sometimes someone new to the community is a better set of eyes to be, less slanted.
You bring a level of objectivity. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, if you're in Texas, it's one thing to live on one side of the state, but in Connecticut, it's a different thing. But you're right, Charlie, we have to educate the voters because I can see them still thinking of, that's the way it should be, but it's very difficult in this day and age to do that. But anyway, we'll face that when it comes. So,
Just so you know, I mean, the commission didn't, it's not like everyone was setting out to find more things.
no, I know.
It was some of these things that, Arosh and Kevin and Kate and I
Yeah.
had a meeting. And we talked about what we thought should get cleaned up.
Mm.
Because, Arosh and Kevin, they experience things at an operational level.
Mhm.
So if you don't raise it during charter revision and try to clean it up,
Never gets.
then when it becomes a frustration, people look at you and say, well, why didn't you address it during charter revision?
And we talked about that when we started, that we would look to clean up language, which is, I
Oh,
think,
there's a bunch of stuff I could clean up. You really want a big omnibus question?
oh, no,
I'll get you explanatory text that'll be longer than the whole charter.
yeah, let's not do
There's a
that.
lot of stuff that could be cleaned up, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, you just
I'm
can't,
trying to say, okay, is this material to the operation of town? Is this gonna make it easier and more efficient for the town? If not, leave it alone.
yeah, the sad thing is you just can't get all that through, which I agree with you, there's other changes, but it's just hard to get that through on a ballot, right? It's the whole ballot would be a 5-page ballot if you start at, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, and
just for
so,
that.
the thought was, hey, you know what, 3 questions.
Yeah.
Manageable.
maybe 4, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, the questions that we put through, Kate and I,
Yeah.
just also coming from outside, it's just trying to make government more efficient.
yeah, no, I
Faster,
it's all good.
quickly.
My fear is it won't get voted on because it'll be too big for the like,
Oh, it's all good. The problem is how do you explain it to people so they get it?
so they vote yes, because it's all just literally
Yeah.
some changes that are,
People here don't like change. They don't like the way things are, but they sure don't want change.
that's a whole nother issue, but yeah, agreed, Charlie. Anyway, all right, so good. So we'll have some talk and discussion on this after the public hearing, right? So let's get the public hearing, in a motion, right, on the public hearing?
I move to set a public hearing on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 6 PM in the town council chambers for the purpose of receiving both written and oral comments concerning the proposed revisions of the Berlin Charter.
Second on that? Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved.
All right.
Item 3 already. Wow, we're just moving right along. It's almost dark, right? Is it almost dark?
Oh, it's dark.
It's dark. Oh, it's dark.
Mayor,
Welcome to Connecticut.
can you guys hear me?
Move these other things quickly. Brendan?
Let's move them. Brendan. Hello.
I'm gonna excuse myself for the rest of the night and call in later in the executive session.
Great.
I got some
Okay.
things I gotta do. And I'm
All
looking at
right.
the rest of the agenda. They look like just expenditures and not too controversial. So if I can be excused, that'd be great.
We can send you a text, Brendan. I'll send you a text.
We'll
Okay,
take-
send me a text when it's over and I'll call in later.
All right, thanks, Brendan. Appreciate
Great,
it.
thank you.
Then item number 3, I see Mr. Bujarski is here. This is
Yes.
The Berlin Housing Authority.
Yes.
Continue to pursue funding commitments and is asking for an extension to the option period to purchase the Columbus property from June 30th to September 30th. We'll give the authority some more time to, secure the funding and tighten things up. But what we did here was sort of give you an update on where we are. Hopefully you had a chance to read it in terms of things that we are requiring the authority to have by this, within this time frame. And we have some attachments about term notes that they have received, as well as sources and uses, pro forma. We got a new copy of the pro forma. That one that was mailed was nobody could read that, unfortunately. But perhaps we can give a quick update on where we are with all the progress you have made.
Hello, Mr. Bujarski. Brevity tonight is very important quality. We want to hear it all, but
As I said at the last meeting, I'd probably be back here to request an extension. We are closing financing July 25th of this summer.
well, it's great to hear.
And, basically shortly after that, we'll be able to close or transfer title and execute the ground lease with the town of Berlin.
Oh, nice.
So giving us an extension out to September 30th will allow us to wrap all those items up and hopefully move forward with construction shortly thereafter.
Well, that's wonderful news.
So we're really gonna break ground.
Nothing's signed yet. Until everything's signed.
Cautiously optimistic. We are.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yes, that's great, though.
Great local
It's
government.
been a
response.
long road, long, difficult road.
Like I said, it's not over yet.
No, we know that, but we seem to be making some progress.
Yes, yes.
Right.
So just a matter, like you said, of doing all the housekeeping type items
Sure.
required for the closing on the financing,
Right.
meeting the town's requirements for the transfer of title.
All right, and Arosh and Jeff, you guys have looked at this and
Yeah, I mean, we have, and I mean, we have had this conversation. There are a few items that we would require to formalize things, and it's included in this in terms of the commitment letter and term sheets and loan agreements and things like that. So once, you tighten up the numbers and
Yeah.
get the loan all secured, we'll probably need to see all those documents. and
Correct.
Agreements. And
Yeah, we're putting together a package. I mean, there's some items that we can't provide, like the contract with the contractor, because we haven't gone out to bid yet. So those items will have to be waived until such time as, we execute the bidding process.
okay, appreciate you being here and talking to us. Questions for Mr. Joe? Okay,
All right.
thank you,
Very good.
sir.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to authorize the town manager to extend the option agreement between the town and the Berlin Housing Authority from an end date of June 30th, 2022 to a new date of September 30th, 2022.
Second that.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Agenda item number 4, it's opening purchase orders for Berlin Tech Memorial Library, and have Kim walk us through this. A lot of them have to do with consortium buying, and give you a little background briefly. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Before I start, I do want to extend my thanks to you, Mayor, and council members for attending our Juneteenth event on Saturday. It was such a fantastic event. We actually had 65 people who came through during the course of the day. It's the first time that we have celebrated this holiday, and it just really meant a lot to see you guys there. So thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you.
I will be as brief as possible.
That's okay.
I am here.
Say what you got to say. It's okay.
Okay, I am here to ask the town to waive the bidding procedures and approve issuing purchase orders for the coming fiscal year. It's that time of year again, and we are specifically looking to open purchase orders for 4 vendors: Baker and Taylor, Library Connection, Novus, and Overdrive. Now, we are able to secure these prices because we are members of 2 consortiums. One is the Connecticut Library Consortium, which is a statewide consortium, 800 members. We're allowed to take advantage of their contracts. So as a matter of fact, they get the best pricing in the state of Connecticut for library contract items. And then also Library Connection, which is a smaller consortium. It's 30 libraries, but they support our cataloging and all of our IT needs as well. So you know, Baker and Taylor is $68,800. That's for books and supplies. Library Connection is $55,000. That is for databases, supplies, data services, and AV equipment. Data services through Novus is $13,500. That is our IT support for the year. And then Overdrive is our ebooks, and that is $13,000.
All right.
Any questions?
Questions for Kim?
Doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Library's looking good over there.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and take a motion on this.
Move to waive the town's bidding procedures and approve issuing purchase orders for the 2022-23 fiscal year for the following vendors due to the library's participation in the Connecticut Library Consortium and in the Library Connection Incorporated as the best discounts have already been provided. This is in the best interest of the town.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 5 is a request from the registrars to pay $1,000 or $5,500 each as stipend related to the additional work that was performed during redistricting and some of the work that they're doing on the website that has taken a lot of time. So as this request needs to be approved by the governing body, which is you. So now it's in front of you.
Okay. So yeah, this is with the redistricting and all the work with the,
Work, yeah.
yeah, all that work and yeah, and this is out of their, they've got money, right?
Right. It's money that was not used.
Not
It's a
used.
One-time stipend.
Right. Yeah.
Money that was not used because we have multiple referendums. And we didn't spend all of them.
Yeah.
The state
Good.
required this. Can we ask the state for the money?
And the state for the money, you can ask, but you won't get it.
It was their idea. It wasn't our idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know they did extra work. I know it's tough. It's a tough job. And right, it's in line with, I know we give stipends to other employees or for different extra jobs they do. So, yeah. I mean, I'm okay with it, but whatever, folks, any other, you guys have questions or anything? We're good? Pretty good? Okay, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to approve transfer excess funds to elected personal account $11,000 / workers' compensation $41.80 Social Security, $841.50. From non-taxable election workers, $11,883.30. I think that's 30 cents, pending approval of the Board of Finance.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 6 is a bid waiver for our annual GIS maintenance contract. Return this to Mr. Ahern. Mike?
Yes, good evening. Yeah, this is my annual request to continue using New England Geosystems to maintain our mapping system that's on the town website that shows the town parcels, the utilities. It has some aerial photos you can click on and off as well. And there's some other historical maps on there as well. The total request is for $30,000, and that is broken out into 3 categories. The first category is to actually publicly host the public and the internal websites, because we do have an internal one for staff only. That's $6,000 per year. The parcel updates, which are largely driven by the assessor's office and the map subdivisions, lot line adjustments, completely different, street line adjustments, all that stuff. They do that twice a year. That's $7,000. And then for general services, that $17,000 fee is split between multiple departments, including planning and zoning, engineering, the assessor's office, economic development. So that is, and some of the POCD maps right now being produced from that line item from this year's budget. So that this is my annual request to continue using New England Geo.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Questions for Mr. Mike?
I use this program all the time. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
I can tell.
Pretty cool.
It's great. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to waive the bidding procedure and award the contract for GIS annual maintenance and departmental services for the fiscal year 2022-2023. New England Geosystems of Middletown, Connecticut. The amount not to exceed $30,000, as this is in the best interest of the town.
Thank you. Second on that? Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And item number 7, the Glen Street Bridge replacement. This is an approval to enter into federal local bridge program. Mike, back to you again.
Yep. This is the Glen Street Bridge. You've heard me talk about this bridge before. We had the DOT Bridge Safety Unit after Tropical Storm Ida sucked more fill out below the bridge. They were ready to either close it or reduce the load rating. So you authorized emergency repairs in December. They were finished. This gives us some breathing room to keep the bridge open the way it is and also line up some funding. So in April, you authorized us or allowed us to submit an application to the federal local bridge program, which is a great program, 80% reimbursement back to the town. We have to fund 20%. The DOT came back, says, yes, we're eligible. So they sent a letter, a commitment to fund letter. So that's the next step to proceed down to actually formally enter the local bridge program. This program is actually transformed a little bit. We used to, the towns used to have to fund 20% of the design, but DOT found that to be sort of adding too much time to their schedule. And I've actually gone through this process and it was taking rather long. So what they've done is they're using their on-call and liaison engineers to design the bridge replacement at no cost to the town, which is great. And we don't have to enter the contracts or anything like that with these firms. So that's the next step after a sort of a concept meeting where they sit down, they take us through the process. So if Arosh can sign this commitment to fund letter, we can then enter into this program. We have two points in the design process to step out of it at the 30% design level and at the 70% design level. And I was even asking the DOT rep, I said, why would anyone ever leave it? He goes, sometimes the cost, actually the 20% match reaches a level where the town says, oh, they just step back. So this is not a firm yes. This is, we want to go forward, see what the price, the replacement project looks like, what the total cost to the town is. Right now, the DOT engineers estimate it's going to cost $2.1 million for the construction and engineering inspections. That means the town would have to fund an estimated $420,000. So the town, at the time where we're about to go to bid, we would need to fund the full amount, and then we get 80% reimbursement. So at that point, I'd be working with the finance director and town manager to figure out the timing of that. So we'd be back at that point to give you an update and also get funding set up for the project.
Okay, thanks. Thanks,
Sure.
Mike. Any questions for Mike? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to authorize the town manager to sign and return the commitment to fund letter for replacing Glen Street Bridge number 06955 to the Connecticut Department of Transportation to enter the federal local bridge program, as well as executing other related agreements with Corporation Council review and approval, and to authorize the town manager and or staff to coordinate with the state design team and to sign required forms, documents throughout the design and permitting process.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know we've talked about this before this evening. All right, if none, all those in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved.
Right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Agenda item number 8 is Crown Castle fiber installation approval for Sage Park. This has to do with the scoreboard and putting fiber in the town. And we'll give you an overview. Again, this is the deep grant that we got. All cost will be paid by the deep grant itself.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council.
Hey, Doug.
This is the second component. The field, the fiber connectivity to Sage Park. It allows for utilization of the scoreboard, as well as future expansion of technology within Sage Park, lighting control, security, automation, surveillance, Wi-Fi. So it's a great component. Add to the site. It'll be networked here back to our town building, Board of Ed. So it's a great opportunity through the state grant to get the service expanded out there.
So not just for the scoreboard, we can use it for many things to be.
Not proprietary to the scoreboard. but
Yeah.
Certainly a functioning component needed.
Okay.
So it's one of those components, but we'll benefit greatly from it for years to come.
Questions?
Is there an annual maintenance fee for this?
Yeah.
How much is that?
$2,800.
$2,800?
And just out of curiosity, while we're talking about this grant, the other, like the turfing of the, where's that stand? I know off topic this one, but I'm just curious over.
Right now, they got bids for the design of it.
Oh, okay.
I think the package will open like today maybe, and they'll very soon make a recommendation.
Oh,
for
nice.
that. But probably a couple of $1 million for the whole project.
Yeah.
But first select a design.
Sure.
And they'll have a recommendation soon, probably at the next meeting.
Oh, great.
We'll move with that and then start
Nice.
working on that.
That's great. Okay, great.
We're hoping not to spend, we're hoping to leave as much as possible for the field.
Yeah, okay, yes, good, please. Yeah, yes, let's do that.
So-
$2,800 annual fee, that's to have the lights on, any upgrades that it might need or maintenance. I mean, I don't know how you maintain a sign this size, but
This is actually for the maintenance of the fiber line. So if the fiber line were to be damaged, lose connectivity.
do we know what it's gonna cost us to run this?
Scoreboard
large?
itself?
Yeah.
Only the electrical costs, which I can get back to you on that. I
I'm
mean,
just curious what it's gonna cost.
we'd have to do a little further study of who would be using the scoreboard and for how long, based on the running amps of the scoreboard, what we can anticipate for operating costs, but I don't think it's going to be a huge increase versus what we have currently out there.
Okay. all right,
The biggest user is the lights,
Right.
the
Yeah.
scoreboard. This is all LED. Latest,
What-
greatest electronics, so there's not going to be a huge inrush or operating costs, I don't think.
Okay.
turning it on.
Doug, would operational costs fall under BOE budget or town budget?
Speaking with finance, we're going to work that out for future budgets. The way we have this proposed is the grant would pay for the installation the first year of maintenance, and then it would be a future budgeted item. It could be shared amongst departments, similar to the way we do now with 3861 and several other departments. So
Thank you.
Doug, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go and take a motion.
I move to utilize state of Connecticut contract number 201T0021 and authorize Crown Castle Fiber of Cheshire, Connecticut to provide and install 2 strands of dark fiber, including a 20-year maintenance agreement from 1567 Berlin Turnpike, Sage Park / Scalise Field Building, back to number 238 and 240 Kensington Road in the amount of $124,900, which includes a 10% project contingency.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Agenda item number 9, the purchase order approval for sole source contractor, automated building systems.
that's our current energy management, building management system provider. They've been in town for decades. This is the annual maintenance agreement. And it also allows for the repairs during the fiscal year outside of the service agreement. We go a little heavier for the school account, just for the systems that are within the schools, the required maintenance within those versus the town buildings. We haven't expanded the service as much, or the systems aren't as in depth. But we're certainly seeing, like everything, the cost for the boards that control everything, the chips, the conductors, those have tripled in price.
Oh, nice.
They're in the same boat with everybody kind of bidding for chips and who can get them the quickest. So we're slowly through maintenance and repair. We retrofit when we have the opportunity if something fails, but longevity, the durability of these products, it's not they last a while. So been expanding on service and they're there for us, keeps the lights, AC running, monitors our alarms for freezers, temperatures, boiler alarms in the winter, chillers. So it's a great service to have, the automation and controls. So.
Okay, thanks. Any questions for Doug? If not, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to utilize sole source contractor automated building systems of Glastonbury, Connecticut, and increase purchase orders as needed up to $50,000 in Department 61 school expenses and contractual services, and up to $25,000 as needed in Department 38 public building contractual services for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. Is this in the best interest of the town?
Second on that.
Second that.
Hey, Doug, just a quick question. I'm assuming with these alarms, right, somebody in the town every day, or I don't know if it's police dispatch or who, or you, or somebody gets the notification, right?
We do. Couple ways of monitoring. We receive email notifications.
Yes.
Some of the stuff goes to central station depending on severity of the alarm.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Monitoring. Also, buildings management contractor monitors as well. So there's different tiers, critical.
Yeah.
Or nuisance or trouble. So.
Right. Yeah, right. Okay. I only know that because I'm the lucky one for my building that gets a lot of notifications for stuff. So yeah, it's always on a weekend too, for some reason. Yeah, right. Typical.
Call us during the day. So.
Yeah, it's always, okay, great. Any other questions for Doug? If not, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you. Agenda item number 10, purchase order approval for departments 38 and 61 contractual services.
Yes, we've been trying diligently over the last few years to kind of separate bid waivers, get away from the bid waiver approach, look to utilize more contracts, bid more work out. We'll have more coming back from materials, but this is our core contractors for fire alarms, sprinklers, HVAC maintenance, things that are going to exceed our 10,000, our current threshold, 10,000 annually, the maintenance and repair of the building infrastructure. So this is the ones we just want to get approved now to get the contracts renewed for July 1, and then we'll come back in August for other materials that may exceed 10 or other vendors that didn't make this top tier list right away. We do have, as you remember, the on-call bids that came back. So we have a lot of contracts set up for that, a lot of agreements for this fiscal year. So we won't have as many requests on the bid waiver or contract form now that we have some stuff that went out to bid. So.
Questions for Doug? Hearing none, we'll go and take a motion.
Move to utilize various state, national, and consortium purchasing contracts and approve purchase orders up to $25,000 as needed in Department 38 Public Buildings and 61 School Expenses, contractual service accounts, without exceeding account balances during the fiscal year 2023 for the following vendors: Cone, Johnson Controls, H.O. Penn, Dakin Applied, Swan Associates, Security 101, Hussey Advantage, Stanley Access Technologies, Brightly Software, Dude Solutions, Carrier, Encore, Calvert Safe and Lock, Train, Associated Security, Integrated Technical Systems, Clear to Water Industries, Belfour Restoration, Air Balancing Services Company, and Hasbro's.
Okay. Quite the list. All right, any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Now, you see why Brendan got off the call, right?
Adios, Brendan. Smart man.
Hungry.
Yeah, he was hungry, right? Hey, it's dinner time out there, I guess, right?
So next few items from economic development. And the
Mhm.
first one is the authorization for the town manager to enter into an easement with Eversource for the Steel Center project. Are you taking this or is?
Yes, I'm going to take the first two and then Jim will take the second two.
All right, what are you, Chris? Thank you.
Council members, yes, this is an
So
easement.
Chris, you didn't, you're at the end of the list here. I wonder, you didn't like maybe give Kate lunch or a Roche lunch to get you at the front of the list? Is that what happened? You messed up with that?
Actually, I'm kind of wishing I'd asked the brewery to stay open late so we could all go there.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
They do,
Yeah, sorry.
Council on location.
maybe I did something I didn't know,
Could be. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
kind of an invite or
I
something.
love it. Field trip.
So this is an easement for Eversource to supply electricity to Steel Center, particularly the rear building, which will be the 60 apartments. And essentially just gives the town manager the ability to do it with approval of Corp Council.
Right, these are these forms, right? Is that for this? In my package?
Yes.
Right?
Attached.
Yeah, I just leave it here. Yeah,
It's not a very good map.
that's one,
You can't read that?
that's a different one.
I need my cheaters.
That's a different one, yeah. No, because I got this, anyway, so yeah, those are for you guys to sign.
Runs right through, right?
Yeah, it just runs right through the property and
Yeah, that's different. Yeah, that's that, but these are some forms that they're gonna sign, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
This was previously done, it's just the name change,
yeah,
Mm.
right.
Howard versus. This
and
and
we still own the property this is going to go through as well, which is 889.
Right. No, that's
Why
fine.
it's
Yeah,
going
they-
to this body instead of going to them.
Eversource required that we approve the specific language now that they provided it. So we had to bring it back even though you approved it before.
It's good. I don't have to deal with it, it's okay. Okay, where are we at here now?
Move to authorize the town manager to sign the easement agreement attached here to Eversource to enable the supply of electricity to the Steel Center at Farmington Avenue Transit-Oriented Development Project, subject to review and approval of Corporation Council.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other questions? It's nice that we can give power to our development. That's important. All right, no questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you. Agenda item number
Thanks.
12, tax abatement modification for Newport Realty Group LLC.
Yes, Newport Realty Group, when they came in initially and got their approval, had come in for a 2-story medical office building on the location where Kensington Furniture used to be. Between discussions with them, real estate people, and even me, medical office at this point really has gone from Yale University south. They're all focusing on Fairfield County at this point. There's not a lot of growth in this area. Accordingly, medical office or nothing. So what they did is they came back and got approval for a two-story building. Essentially, if you take the building across from Tavern on the Tracks, right off the top floor, that's about what we're gonna get. Kensington Furniture. So it'll be about 7,000 square feet of commercial, 4 residential units above. And the nice thing too, it'll completely face the road. And from my perspective, it's exciting for the fact that you can't put a restaurant in medical office, and we can maybe put a restaurant in this one.
Right.
So I think it makes sense. It's actually going to be a longer building, which will be nice. And excuse me, because it was approved as medical office, that has the highest parking ratios of any use in town. So there's lots of parking there.
Yeah.
We've already had some discussions on it, and I believe that they've already, they'll be coming in for some permits relatively soon to start working on both this building and the larger apartment building at the back, because they're all 16 units are now rented in the building they've completed. They actually have a waiting list. The building they haven't built yet. I think everybody had heard that Hop House is going to be the first tenant in the existing building.
Yeah, that's
We're still
great.
talking to some other folks, trying to get some more options, but there's been a lot of activity. Was excited about the idea of Hop House, didn't realize what kind of a ripple effect we're going to have. We have a lot of people which are calling both them and myself about it, want to know more about what's happening. So I think
Yeah, great.
really direction we're heading is great. And they're getting a nice mix of people too, which is nice. It's not just one of any kind. They're definitely excited about it, and they want to keep moving ahead. They don't want to wait at all. As long as the materials get there.
Show up, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're planning on moving ahead quickly with the rest of the building.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, just, I'm sorry, just being on planning and zoning for 16 years, seeing these guys come in and as a developer, they're unbelievable. They really move forward, and they're, you know, their word is their bond, really. Whatever we ask them to do, or, you know, they work with us and they do it. So yeah, that's great.
Well, they've been great for the fact that they, whenever they get a chance, will tell folks about us.
Yeah.
I do the same, working with them. I know actually the town of Plainville came to us and said, hey, what did you guys do to get Tony and Mark?
Yeah.
Actually assisted them with some language on their RFQ,
Yeah.
which they're working on. So I know that there is, people, I hate to say it, but people want our developer.
Well,
So what they've done.
it's funny you say that. I was in the Valley today in a town, and that mayor asked me, oh yeah, Tony and Mark, Newport. I said, yeah, we have them. What are you doing? You're not getting them. Stay away from our town. Don't mess with our developers. But yeah, their reputation is far and wide, and that's great. Actually, your name came up as well with that mayor. Interesting. Talk to you about it later.
Can't have you
Oh, good.
either, by the way.
I told him that too.
Mr.
I
Hess,
said, you're not stealing him.
Good.
Mr. Hess by chance?
Yes. Naugatuck, yeah.
Bunch of poachers in the valley.
Yeah, that's it. I said, stay away from Chris, stay away from our developers. No, he wasn't looking. Well, I don't know what he's looking to do, but whatever. No, it was good. It's good conversation. Anyway, great. So we'll go ahead and any questions for Chris? All right, if not, we'll go ahead and take a motion on this.
Move to approve a modification to the tax abatement agreement for Newport Realty Group LLC, related entities Newport 903-913 Farmington Avenue LLC, Newport 55 Steel Boulevard LLC, and 861 Farmington Avenue LLC for the Steel Center mixed-use development project based on the revised development plan approved by the Berlin Planning and Zoning Commission in May of 2022. The abatement schedule for the project will remain the same. The residential portion will be for 5 years, 80% in year 1, 70% in year 2, 60% in year 3, 50% in year 4, and 40% in year 5. Commercial portion will be 10 years on the commercial of 70% for years 1 through 3, 60% for years 4 through 8, 50% for years 9 and 10 per the town's tax abatement policy.
Thank you. And I got to say, the tax abatement policy, Chris, you worked on it. I was council, town staff, everybody, and it's brought nothing but success. And twice now, but I've been with the governor. He's asked me what's the secret sauce in Berlin, because obviously people talk about Berlin, I guess now, which is great in a good way. And I said, one of the things is a tax abatement policy. We revised it, right? And look at what happens. You know, I mean, there's other things too. Town hall does a great job, obviously, too, everywhere we go. Town hall,
I
you
think
know, the
that's
staff
the
gets.
extra carrot.
Huh?
The extra
Yeah,
carrot.
yeah.
is
Well, we're all,
You invest more, we give you more. And we're willing to be flexible. And I think that says a lot about the program,
Yeah.
excuse me, about the project here, the fact that we changed density, fit their project, and in return, we got 15% commercial, which is probably 2 to 3 times as much as most mixed use has.
Yeah,
So we're blessed in a lot of ways, and I
we
think
are.
leadership within town hall, which we've heard, Mayor, numerous ribbon cuttings.
Yeah.
The fact that
And we're all competing, all the towns for the same bit, right? The business. I mean, we're all competing, so it's great to have them. We got to be a little bit creative. So anyway, any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so moved.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Agenda item number 13.
Oh, the end is in sight.
Authorization to appropriate a steep grant for Kensington sidewalk project. What you?
Yes, so we got awarded the grant in 2020. We're finally at the point where we're bidding the project. Actually, Mike and Public Works is spearheading this, and we're out to bid now, but we hadn't appropriated the grant, so we needed to come back and appropriate the grant. And we had originally, in our original action, planned on using the $50,000, a matching money from the bonded road account. So we're just reiterating that here. It's not a new ask, but it's, it was part of our original plan. So we're just appropriating the money and referring it to Board of Finance for their action.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Hearing none, go ahead and take a motion.
Move to appropriate $128,205 steep grant for Kensington Sidewalks Project Phase 3 to the steep sidewalks account and to the revenue account, state and federal grants, and to refer this matter to the Board of Finance and to use up to $50,000 from the bonded road account for match and contingency for the project.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, so moved.
Okay, thank you. 14 and the final agenda.
Woo.
Authorization
Oh,
for the
darn.
Nice.
manager to enter into a consultant agreement for preparation, plans and specifications for Steel Boulevard Park, section 8-24 referral. What did Jim?
Mr. Jim.
So the state's has advertised another bid round for steep. This time the maximum grant amount is 500,000, which is better than 128,205, like the 2020 grant. Chris and I, we originally were talking about trying to apply for another facade grant because that program was very successful, but the requirements for this program are that it be public property, so we couldn't apply for that. So we have this additional parcel on Steel Boulevard, so it's kind of the last piece. It's on the northeast corner of the boulevard. It's about 3/10 of an acre that the town retained, and we wanted to put a park there. If you remember, we asked for money under the Community Challenge Grant, which we did not get for that project. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to take another shot at it with steep, because I think it, fits in with our transit-oriented development project and really completes New Ward Center. In the RFP for the steep grant program, they're looking for shovel-ready projects. Of course, they're also asking for applications by August 15th. So we needed to scramble, and we had Yantic do the preliminary designs for the park, and we want to go ahead and have them do plans and specifications. So we'll be better positioned with our application to demonstrate that the project is shovel ready.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to waive the town's bidding requirements and authorize the town manager to enter in a consulting contract with Yantic River Consultants LLC in the amount not to exceed $9,600 to be paid from the Farmington Avenue Development non-grant account, since this is in the best interest of the town, and to send the project to Planning and Zoning Commission for review pursuant to section 8-24 of the Connecticut General Statutes.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim.
Jim. Good night.
Good night.
Oh, don't we have some more? We're done? We're done with the new?
Looking for more?
So that's okay.
I think, I don't know who, maybe it was me rather than Chris that gets the things at the bottom of the agenda,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you might have been the most punished. Okay, tonight.
That's okay. Yeah.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, he's got to be here in person. That's much more punishment. As we all know, sitting up here. No. Yes. Tomorrow.
9:30 at Sherwin-Williams,
Williams.
9:30 on Thursday at usually Dr. Fitzsimmons, the eye doctor, 59 Main Street, Friday, 9 o'clock at the ERA office next to Kensington Market. So that would be 53, 54, 55 for ribbon cutting, the three of them.
Wow, and I understand a sharpened pair of scissors as well.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yes, I believe. I believe. I believe you will have them tomorrow. That new sharpened scissors. Yes. Good night. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And you're not going to Naugatuck or anything. You're not going anywhere now. We wouldn't let you go. We wouldn't let you escape anyway.
Take him to the brewery.
Yeah, yeah, right. People stay out of them. Right, yeah. Huh?
Excuse him, he can leave.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just-
Yeah. Okay, so we're town manager report. It's very brief, I'm sure,
I'll give
tonight.
you some quick updates.
Yes.
Remember, we asked the Board of Finance to look into the funding of the Sinton Fire Department
Yes, the parking lot.
parking lot.
Yes, yes, yes.
So they're conducting their due diligence. Is one of the things they're going to request is to look at their financial statements.
Oh, okay.
And
The Board of Finance wants to
Board of
see that.
Finance wants
Yeah.
to see that,
Okay.
and they want to consider options and come up with their recommendations after this.
Oh, okay, good.
So
Yeah. So they're looking at it.
it's going on.
Okay, good. Good.
You already mentioned this, the board, Board of Finance is going to send you, the council, a letter. about
Yes,
the
I
Senior
believe.
Community Center,
Yes.
their thoughts and ideas, perhaps, or with questions. So that is coming. The mayor, myself, Anna Bove.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. And Mary Kathleen LaRose, we took a walk at Pistol Creek, and Paul Griswold, the cross-country coach as well. I think we all have a consensus.
Believe so.
We Sort of nodded and agreed that we have an area that could be leash-free. It's the main area next to the handicap walkway, but 15 feet away from there. So the walkway will be open, the cross-country game would take place, and the dog people can use the leash-free area as well. It's so what the next step, what we're going to do is Steve Wood is going and spray paint
For the fence.
where the fence is going to go. We're going to take that and put it on a map,
Oh, okay.
GIS in that system,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then we'll post it and bring it to the council.
Oh, good.
And people can comment on it.
Yeah.
But I think all concerns have been addressed. We looked at a couple of other locations, but everyone seemed to be happy. They're all willing to work with the parameters that we have established. And here's what I'm saying, give it a try.
Yeah.
Year or two, if it doesn't work, we can always come up with something else. But it's such an open area with all that space, we should be able to find some common ground and some compromise. So I think
Yeah.
and we have to find a place.
By the end of
July.
July,
because
yes.
The,
Right. And I don't, we are not impacting any other activities in the park. There's plenty of other space, and there's just a portion of that fairway now, a little bit smaller portion. So it doesn't really interfere. The walkway is there, everything is good to go. Yes.
How much fence are we talking?
I don't think, about $16,000 worth of fence, maybe?
That's what it is.
whatever that adds up to be.
Oh, kind of,
Fully covered.
and, right, and then there's, if I remember, there's kind of woods on. one
Other than the
side.
woods.
Yeah,
There's a lot of brush.
We're not,
yeah, right.
yeah, the
Okay.
woods are so thick.
And
there's-
the woods would serve as a natural.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, I got you.
We save on that.
Yeah.
And we keep the walkway open for everyone and, you know, a lot of people are walking their dogs on a leash. I really think they'll now be able to take a little detour into that park, the off-leash park if they want to. I
Mm.
mean, it's pretty good. Should be good.
This, we wouldn't have to serve abutment notices for this property, would we?
I don't think so.
There's really no,
Next to it.
No, 'cause the-
fairway. There's no-
Sufficiently.
no-
Houses are sort of on the other
Yeah.
side of that.
Right.
There's
wooded
only
area, so-
one, well, we were very sensitive to that. Well, there was only one house well off in the distance that if they look out their windows, they could see the,
Binoculars.
with binoculars, they could see that fenced in area, but it should not impact on their property whatsoever.
Rose, did the athletic director, was he involved in this?
Oh, Paul Griswold was, he was speaking for the
Yeah,
athletes.
Track team,
Coach Chris
Okay.
spoke about it.
which does their meets there and he was there and we did adjust it for his, you know, his.
Yeah. He
wha-
showed us.
Whatever he
his
needed,
input At the,
he got.
we discussed.
Yeah, so I think I think it's good. I think it's a great place. It should work out. And like you said, Arosh, if it doesn't, well, we can always revisit it. It's been a very long road, but I think we're there.
Almost there.
Yes, I think so. Almost. Yeah, we'll say almost.
You already mentioned the ordinance committee.
Yes.
And we put in the final touches on the town notification system.
Oh, great.
Planning to get it launched after the 4th of July weekend.
Oh, nice.
That's the plan. It works now, but we just need to work with another group to get it on the website, do some testing, develop
Cool.
some marketing materials,
Get it out to,
get it out to the public, once we test it. So,
it's great.
yeah,
Well, that's exciting.
that would allow us to
That's great.
inform people of things that are going on
Yeah,
and
good.
anyone else.
Yeah.
And on a good note, we just, both our pools are open for the summer.
Oh,
Great.
And then after 7 weeks, registration for the summer camps, 1 and 2 are totally booked. Oh, 90
Wow.
participants.
Really?
First and second week, and the others are coming in too every day.
Wow,
So we'll probably have a full summer.
cool. That's great.
It is great.
Wow, that's all good news. Good.
I yield the floor to you now.
That's it? Wow, that's quick.
Make
No,
it quick.
thank you very much. Yes, Council Communications. There are none, right? No, whatever you
Got
folks want to say. Yes, you
Quick
can.
note,
Yes, you
I
can.
want to thank everybody that helped with the charter revision. The 2 attorneys and the staff was phenomenal, keeping us out of trouble and keeping us focused. We were really lucky to have the expertise. And the other people on the commission were very helpful. Everybody got along and had good ideas. And I just want to say the Juneteenth ceremony was phenomenal. And not only the guest, the main speaker was great, but the Historical Society gave a lot of good information, and I never knew. I was fascinated.
Lorraine did a great job, yeah.
My thanks to the library staff again.
Yeah. It's fascinating learning that history of Berlin, you know, every day, there's something new every time, you know, you go there.
Yeah, I
Glenn,
thought it was a
anything else?
tremendous ceremony and to see different community organizations coming together to put on an event that was the first of its kind in town. Hopefully we see more of that in the years to come. One thing that I know it's, we're 6 months out, but I just wanted to bring it up because I was in a discussion about this yesterday, was the tree lighting.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
for
Wow, we're talking about that already.
for foresight, just to
Wow.
get it out
That is some
there.
foresight. Let's get through the 4th of July first. No,
Yeah.
that's okay. No, that's all right.
Different tree lighting.
Well, I just wanted to put it on everyone's radar just because it came up yesterday. So,
Oh, at the meeting.
there was-
With the businesses there?
right,
Yeah,
exactly, at the
yeah.
Kensington Village meeting. So
yeah.
there was some discussion about moving that a day to, I believe it was on
We had,
Sunday this past year.
yeah, no, Saturday.
It was on
I think
Saturday.
they want to
right,
move it
you're
to
right.
Sunday.
Moving it to Sunday.
Yes, I'm glad
Well,
you.
obviously, we'll talk about it as the date approaches, but just bringing that up.
we had that discussion last year. I think it began a little bit too late to move it.
Who's
Oh.
requesting the shift?
The business owners there. and-
Yeah, some of the
and,
business
down
owners, just
there.
because that Friday is
Yeah.
Saturday?
crazy.
I think yeah, because, right, it's small business
Exactly.
weekend there.
Exactly.
So,
The
all
thought,
right, well,
something to think about for the
oh, yeah, no,
the
we,
next 3 months.
yeah, no, it's good you reminded,
well.
because maybe we could work on that a little bit earlier this year. I think by the time we got that message, we were closer to the event, and we have to work on, I guess, a town entity to see if they would be able to move, right, to another. The fire department, yeah, yeah. I wonder if we hit them up early enough, they could maybe make some plans to move to Sunday. That would be good.
Tell them ahead of time, sure.
Yeah, so we can maybe ask Jim to float it to the chiefs and,
They can show off their new parking lot.
yeah, there you go, yeah. Yeah, there they go. Yeah, wait a minute, they want the new parking lot? Wait a minute, yeah, yeah, wait a minute.
Jeez.
I think you're gonna be there on Sunday this year, right?
Negotiation time.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's good. We should get that set up. The business owners will be very happy if we do that. Because I did talk to them last year about that, but yeah. Good reminder, Jack. We'll get that done soon, maybe. A roast, just let's see how, so. Thanks. Anyone else?
I just want to
Yes.
echo what you guys have said. The Juneteenth event was very nice. They did a great job. Lorraine always does a nice
Yeah,
job.
good
with
talk by
the
her, yeah.
Society. Also, the veterans at the Legion for Flag Day,
Oh,
they did a
yes.
nice ceremony. Mark was there with me. And a ton of Boy Scouts. So it was really
Oh,
neat to
yeah.
see all those guys out there. So again, I thank them for continuing that the ceremony that they do. It's very
Great tradition, yeah.
Thank you.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, acceptance of the June 7th minutes.
I move we accept the June 7th meeting minutes as presented.
Second,
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so moved. Now we'll take a motion to move into executive session if we could. I guess 9:20.
Moved.
Second on that.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We inviting in.
So we'll take a moment to get the room straightened out and people could call in.
Who we inviting in? Do we have to list?
Oh, yeah, we got
You're
obviously
still on the record.
Roche, Mr. Attorney D'Onofrio, and that's it. Yeah, and I think hopefully Brendan will call in. So we'll take a break for a minute, huh? Yeah, we can text them. So Lisa, you're like off the hook now.